Before last season on our show, No Cap Room, we decided to have a little bit of fun by picking some alternative over-unders. You know, a lot of shows at this point in the year do which team you think is going to win more or lose more than their over-under title. We wanted to do something a little bit different. So we picked weird stuff like how many games would James Harden play for the Sixers, how many technical fouls would Luka Doncic finish with on the season, and how many threes per game would Jordan Poole launch. Do you remember who got more over-unders right?
How can I forget? It was me.
That's right. Jake beat me 4-3. We had 4
Best
pushes.
Of 7.
We had 4 pushes, but he beat me I think he came back and beat me in game 7, but
like
nevertheless.
Like the Cavs in 2016.
Just like them with the sleeves and everything. But because we had fun doing that, we're going to do it again. We each came up with some made-up lines for the 24-25 NBA season. We have kept them secret from one another until this very moment. And Jake, because you are the guest, I'm going to offer you the opportunity. You can choose. It's a heads or tails type situation. Would you like to go first or would you like to receive first? Are you a giver or are you a taker?
I'm definitely a giver. So
you want me to go first?
Well, I feel like giving is giving the line.
Fair enough. Okay, so if you would like to go first, if you're ready to go, hit me with it.
So these are all inspired from a place of joy, inspired from a place of No Cap Room inside jokes. A shout out to all the many loyal listeners who have been setting sail with us, traversing the bumpy seas for 2 calendars now. So, my Magic. The brothers Wagner. Banchero Paolo. The man who...
Don't name the roster.
No, I'm saying the man who shocked me by how well he got to the free throw line from the very opening night of his career. Paolo Banchero said on a Sun podcast, I apologize. I think it was something during his China tour with Jordan Brand, with Luka and all those teams. He said that the Magic should be competing for home court in the East this season.
Okay.
I talked to someone with the team, just friendly calls, catching up. And I said, oh yeah, like Paolo said that. How does it feel that he put that out there? This guy was like, I mean, we were the 5 seed last year. So let's just spill it at that. Over under 4.5 seed for my Magic.
With all due respect to you and your love for the Wagners and your relationship with Paolo and everything, I'm going to go under. I don't see top 4 for that team. I know.
Remember last year we did this for OKC and you were horribly wrong.
I was horribly wrong. That's true. Oklahoma City had the makings of an elite offense, though, and I don't believe that the Magic do. And that's why, they actually were on my list.
You don't believe in KCP?
I believe in Contavious Caldwell-Pope. Like, I don't know, like I believe in functional utilities, like you turn the faucet and the water comes on. Like it is a thing that I believe in and that I trust to function, but it's not changing my life necessarily. Although I suppose if I didn't have running water, I might think differently about it. Nevertheless.
Yeah, shout out Flint.
Shout out. Yes. Okay. The Magic were on my list as well, but from a slightly different perspective. It was over under 17.5 for their offensive rating.
Oh.
And the reason being,
we went double Magic.
The reason being, well, you're not going to believe this, Jake. How many did you come up with? How many over underlines?
3. I was told to give 3.
Yeah, I came up with like 10 because I wasn't sure if we were going to double up.
Okay.
So I was like, maybe there will be some opportunities.
That's good hosting by you.
I mean, I'm a pretty prepared
This is why
host.
I wanted to be on the show. You're so good at it. All I got to do is roll up, be a guest, come into the studio, look pretty. It's great.
I mean, and you do look pretty. But
I got a haircut yesterday, beard trim.
It's great.
Shout out Dustin Coda of Persons of Interest on Havemeyer Street.
I mean, now we're just giving ads away. Like but I mean, yes, shouts out to barbers everywhere.
He actually told me that JJ Redick used to come bring his son to the Fort Greene location of Persons of Interest.
See, intel can come from anywhere, everybody.
That's why they call me the People's Insider.
It's true. They do. Many of them, lots of people, tears in their eyes. Also, my kids hate it when I trim my beard because I look different than I looked when they saw me last, and they get freaked out that I look a little bit different.
Have they ever cried?
No, they put thumbs down. Like I've seen my children come up on the bus, like from summer camp, with thumbs down, booing out the window, looking at me.
Clip this, John Gennaro. Clip this.
It's brutal. It's actually it is miserable, and it's why I don't care for them all that much. The Magic have not been.
Wait, why you don't care for your children?
My children, yeah, they're not going to listen to this.
You never know. One day.
I mean, yeah, just
the internet.
they're huge Ringer NBA show guys. They'll listen to that. The Magic finished 22nd in offensive efficiency last year.
Yeah,
they have not finished higher than 17th since when?
Dwight Howard era.
2011-12, the final year
Shout
of
out
Dwight Howard being there.
We're just giving shout outs now.
Absolutely.
Assistant GM of the Delaware Bluecoats.
There you go. So I am skeptical that they are going to be dramatically better offensively. I think their defense is elite. I think that's legit. I think KCP will only help there. Getting another shooter certainly helps. The jump for them to me is, where does the ball handling come from? Where does the shot creation come from? We know that Paolo and Franz can get downhill. We know that they can hammer the paint, get to the free throw line, shots at the rim. But in terms of creating higher value shots for everybody else, Paolo made a jump there, sort of facilitating out of the post. I don't know if they've got enough to get up into like the league average range offensively.
It's fair.
And I think without a league average offense, they're not going to be able to make that jump. So that's my skepticism.
Well, since this isn't a presidential debate, I'm not going to ask for my time to respond because we have things to do. But I just will give the answer to the question, unlike certain candidates, which is both of them, because both of them didn't answer any questions. Not trying to get political here, just a statement and a fact. My answer to my over-under is under, because the Magic are going to be hosting playoff games at the Amway Center, and I will be there. I don't know if I'll be there, but it's a great arena, and I like a lot of people at the org, from the PR department to Jamal Mosley to the players. So, yeah, my Magic, home court advantage.
All right. Well, from your Magic, I'm going to go next to our shared city of residence, our shared area, Brooklyn, New York.
What could you possibly ask me about that?
Cam Thomas points per game average. Over under 24.5.
That's great, because in my head I was wondering what you were going to ask. But it turns out the number, and my head went to around 25. So I'm hammering the over.
You're going over on this.
He might be in the 30s. There's no one else on the team who has any green light. I mean, everyone's going to have a green light, but to like break dudes down off the dribble. If I'm forgetting someone, I apologize, but...
This is Dennis Schroeder erasure.
Oh, Dennis Schroeder is phenomenal. Actually, I really like Dennis Schroeder, but I don't expect him to be in Brooklyn very long. I think he'll probably be, and this is more of like a educated assumption than like I've heard the Nets are actively shopping Dennis Schroeder.
Right.
To be clear, aggregators, please don't aggregate that.
They're not going to aggregate Devine Intervention. Don't worry about it.
I'm on it, so they might.
That's true. That's true.
And not to be presumptuous or arrogant, that's just kind of how it goes. You can't even sneeze and without people thinking, oh, someone told Jake Fischer to sneeze. So, yeah, I think Cam Thomas is going to be pushing to the 30s. That's
I get where you're coming from. So
let Cam cook.
The reason I went with 24.5 is that he averaged just over 24 after the trade deadline last year. So when they...
Spicy.
So, and then the guy who was second in scoring and shot attempts per game went
across the bridge.
Went across the bridge.
Yeah.
And then the other guy, the guy that was second to Cam Thomas in usage rate, was Lonnie Walker, and he's also not on the team anymore.
I wonder what bridge, I will ask him this at one point in time. The first time Mikal Bridges entered the island of Manhattan after being traded from Brooklyn, I wonder which one he took. Maybe he took a tunnel.
I mean, he was in the back of a black car. He was not paying attention to which bridge he was. He
might now.
Phone. Maybe he does. Maybe he does. It's a question worth asking. The Cam Thomas question is worth asking, if only because I don't know how often we're going to talk about the Brooklyn Nets this season. I think the main argument for is, as you said, there's kind of nobody else, and the Brooklyn Nets, after getting their draft pick back, really have no reason to try to be good. So why not just let him cook? It's the old Jordan Crawford with the Wizards argument of like, who else going to shoot? But super producer John Gennaro brings up a reasonable question. Have we not learned from our hubris on the Jordan Poole predictions with the Wizards last year?
It's very fair.
Where we were talking about like how many, what would his scoring be? How many shot attempts would he end?
One difference is that Jordan Poole wasn't coming from a awful, getting exiled from the Golden Kingdom situation to like pretend to build something sustainable in Washington. Cam was drafted there. He's like preceded all this. The front office definitely like believes in him to some degree because they picked him.
Right.
So it wasn't just like the salary and the trade asset coming back to Washington and like a Chris Paul reroute after a Bradley Beal thing. So that's my counterpoint.
Well, I'm going to go with under just because of the hubris.
George Soros, that's my counterpoint.
George Soros is your counterpoint. All right.
Well, I was directing that to the debate moderator. That was a callback joke.
All right. I mean, Great work. I'm gonna go with under because I think that
imagine if we were in studio for all this stuff.
It would be
it would have been doofy as hell.
It would have been doofy as hell. All right, so you're over. You think he's gonna lead the league in scoring. I'm under, and I think something might go wrong.
We disagreed on both sides.
Imagine this, something going wrong for the Brooklyn Nets. Who among us could have foreseen? Jake, give me a second one.
Okay. So I am going back to the lore of our show as I look at my phone, and there are even more people texting me about what we learned during the break. So we're bringing this to my Bulls, Chicago Bulls.
How many all right. Anyway,
there's just two. We had two. We had my Magic and my Bulls.
And then it's your Sixers. There's a lot. Anyway, go ahead. Your Bulls. Your Bulls.
They were my Sixers when I was a child.
Basically a child.
Did I ever tell a story to you? It's very brief of when I relinquished my Sixers fandom when I knew it happened.
Did you go to the top of a mountain and scream it, or what happened?
No, I was in Barclays Center at the draft in 2015, 3 years in of covering Hinkie's process era. They picked Joel Okafor number 3, which again, after Nerlens Noel in 2013, after Joel Embiid in 2014. And everyone's like, another center? And I just shrugged and I went, best player available. I put myself in the most detached analysis brain, putting myself in Sam Hinkie's shoes and was like, I care more about covering this team than I do about rooting for it. That was the moment. My Bulls. Lonzo Ball played 34, I'm guessing, because I'm not reading my own notes well, roughly 30-ish games in his first year, 21-22, when he led the Chicago Bulls to the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference before devastating knee injuries. He purports to be back. He's doing pods with his guy Demo. Over under Lonzo Ball, 35 games for Chicago this year.
Oof. This is after 2 straight knee seasons lost to knee injury. He has, they were this time last year. We were wondering if he could literally stand up in a chair.
Well, we weren't. Stephen A. Smith was.
Fair enough, but I'm going to go just for the pure vibes of this. I'm going to go over. I'm going to say I want it to
That's
be
the right
true
answer.
That he plays more than 35 games because Lonzo obviously has never panned out into the kind of pro that we hoped he would be coming out of UCLA.
He was panning out.
Right. All right.
Stop trying to pan out and start trying to pan in.
What I'm saying is though, he's the number 2 pick in the draft, right? And so
Deuce is wild, as LeVar would tell you.
I'm sure he would. But the idea being you draft somebody there, you hope that they are going to hit and be a superstar, right?
Yeah.
And what I think we've seen, or the best versions of Lonzo Ball that we have seen, is really an elite complementary player, the star in your role kind of role player, like when he was healthy in New Orleans and he actually got the 3-point shot online and the volume up, and he was that hit ahead monster feeding Zion, right?
A not on the billboard version of Tyrese Halliburton.
I think that's a fair way to look at it, right? Somebody who is fuel injects your offense and gets you moving faster, but also whereas Halliburton is somebody that, and obviously he makes up for it by just how great he is offensively, is someone who has to be, maneuvered around on the defensive end. Lonzo, an excellent on-ball defender and off-ball defender, where the best version of that Bulls team was him and Caruso wreaking havoc at the top, deflections and steals, getting the transition game going. So I would not anticipate that level of productivity and impact coming off 2 straight missed seasons, but the idea of him at 27, getting back on the floor and being able to play at least half a healthy season, I want to believe in it. So I'm going to say over on that.
Yeah, I agree. Over. Lonzo, we were rooting for you, buddy. We're rooting for you.
I had a Bulls 1-2. Wow. Again, because similarly to the Nets thing, I don't know how often I'm going to talk about the Bulls this season, so I might as well get it out now.
Get it out quick.
Zach LaVine games as a member of the Bulls this season, over under 49.5.
Do you know from being the Homer kid how many games there are before the trade deadline?
Their 50th game comes on February 5th.
I know you have the answer. I'm going to say over because I am going to say that he will not be traded. Well, February 5th is before the trade deadline.
Yeah, the trade deadline this year is February 6th.
I should have known that from the Larry Markkinen extension August 6th, 6-month thing that we talked about so ad nauseum.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk.
This is a really hard one. This is a really good one.
I'm really good at this.
That's why I wanted to be a guest.
There you go.
Oh, because there's also there's the health thing, then there's the trade thing. It's a double whammy of unknown factors.
Let me remove the injury part for you. I'm not saying games played. I'm saying games as a member of the Bulls. He is on the Bulls roster. He is a member of the team.
That takes it down from like BC calculus to like trigonometry.
There you go. I flunked BC calculus, so that's where I feel most comfortable living. I write for a living now. That's why.
People don't know I was actually a math whiz back in the day.
Of course you were.
I'm pretty talented.
Yeah, I mean, just ask you.
Yeah. Ask certain people, they'll disagree. This is a dramatic,
incredible podcasting. Wonderful audio.
I really don't think people are gonna like be like, all of a sudden Zach LaVine did things in 50 games to want to trade for him at a plus value, and I don't think the Bulls will move him at anything below like fair. So I'm just gonna say over. I think he will, and I think it could be more palatable when it's next offseason and the deal is further towards expiring. So I'm saying over.
I'm just going to say under because of game theory. All right. Jake, you went from your Magic to your Bulls. I could piggyback on that. Do you want me to go again and then you drill over your last one?
I'm still getting more text messages about the news.
Stop.
I'm going to keep it with the Bulls because my other thing is still on my Bulls. So, because to me, one of the best jokes of the show's history is we talked about the beautiful, insightful knowledge that Pat Beverley does and doesn't do certain things before playing. He's now in Israel.
It's true. He's not in the league anymore.
However, he could come back. Plenty of overseas outs in contracts, all that type of stuff. Veteran, playoff know-how, post-trade deadline, buyout market, maybe he makes his way in there.
Maybe more rinsed than washed.
Yeah. So the over-under is, and let me finish the whole over-under. Over-under 0.5 games back in the NBA from Israel that he doesn't have sex before. Because he says he doesn't have sex before any game. Will he change his ways after being in Israel?
Okay. So a couple things going on here in my head. One is, I just want to make sure I have the wording of the question right.
Yes.
Games back from Israel. So what
is back in the NBA?
We are presuming he is back in the NBA for this purpose of this over-under.
Yes.
I'm going to go under. I don't think he's coming back this season. I think that we have reached the point of no return with Pat Bev, where at his age, at what he brings to the table.
With his antics.
I think that I think we have bid farewell to Patrick Beverley as an NBA character. Now, as a media, member, somebody who will continue to make content and perhaps show up on networks at some point soon, I think that's totally open. But I do not think we're going to see Pat Bev back in the league this season.
I'm going to say over because if Isaiah Thomas can get a 10-day deal from Charlotte 5 years after asking for one, I think there's a chance that Daryl Morey or someone who's had him previously will just bring him in for a minimum contract.
Doc winds up looking for another, perimeter point of attack pest guy.
So, yeah.
All right. I just really wanted to get back to Pat Bev doesn't have sex before games, and that briefly led to the most sustained success the Bulls have had since Lonzo Ball got hurt. Basically,
coincidence?
I think not. All right, so Jake, how nerdy do you want me to get with my third and final? Because there's a few options here.
The answer is turn the nerd all the way up.
All right, you're gonna regret this.
I will not.
Domantas Sabonis total screen assists.
Ooh,
over under 499.5.
What do you have last year?
Led the league with 488.
Hammer the over.
Nobody has hit 500 since, take a guess. Wild guess. Who screens a bunch?
Oh my God.
Has a style of screen named after him.
Gortat.
Marcin Gortat in 2015, 2016. So we're coming up on a decade since somebody had 500 in a season. Even Rudy Gobert, the guy that they basically made the whole thing for, hasn't gotten a 500.
Well, look, real followers of the NC Armada and my particular career will remember I spent a week in Sacramento early in the Light the Beam days, blown away by Sabonis' screen synergy with Kevin Huerter and then De'Aaron Fox and doing things different with Keegan Murray. Now he's got another guy and DeMar DeRozan to screen for. Plus, people who have played pickup with me will know that my game expands beyond.
How long did it take to get to his pickup game, folks? That's what we really wanted to know.
My game expands beyond the pretty jump shot that has clipped and been on Twitter. I really love to just set angular screens. That's, allows a guy to rock. So I have appreciation for the dark arts of screen assists. So yeah, I will say over, if nothing but to further encourage Domantas Sabonis, whose Lithuanian national team jersey I have after my father bought it on a work trip to Lithuania.
Wow, very kind.
And the Lithuanian national team PR guy, I forget his name, I'm really sorry, was very kind to me in setting up a one-on-one with Jonas Valanciunas during my intrepid days at Manila. So shout out all Lithuanians out there, and shout out to Domantas Sabonis for screening his men open.
I mean, really the biggest question is just how many screen assists are going to show up on Starting Five, the new Netflix show that it will feature Domantas Sabonis. Maybe I should have adjusted.
One of those guys doesn't belong in that show. It's Domantas Sabonis.
A little bit, but you got to balance the scales a little bit.
With screens.
Balance the screens. Also, I lied. I'm going to do 2 more quick ones.
Oh my God.
You're going to give quick answers.
You can't do anything quick on a podcast.
I'm going to try. Victor Wembanyama 5x5 games.
Again, how many did he have last year?
Well, over under is 2.5. He had 1, but he was close in a bunch of others.
I'll say over because I think many people think the Spurs are going to be better than they're going to be. And I think as they continue to be in this laboratory thing, I think he will just be put in positions to stretch his incredible wingspan in literal and metaphorical ways. So over.
I think over is a good pick because nobody has ever gotten more than 2 in a single season. I believe it was Akeem Olajuwon and Andrei Kirilenko. And
shout out Mir and Fader.
Absolutely. And if nothing else, what is Victor Wembanyama if not somebody who is like setting new historical standards, right? So I think the idea that he would be the first person to get 3 in a season is a good bet. And then I don't love this one, but it's just from the purposes of content creation. Bronny James total NBA minutes as a rookie. Over under 499.5.
Oh, I was expecting it to be like around 100. So I'm going to say 499, 80 games.
It's really, it becomes more of a question of like, how much time do you think he's going to spend actually with the Lakers as opposed to with the G League team or,
I'm going to say under. We put a lot of optimism on LA's past prodigal son, Lonzo Ball. And then the yin and yang, I'm going to say under.
Just to balance yourself out there.
That's what I'm trying to do a lot these days.
All right. I'm going to go over just for the sake of game theory again, but realistically,
yin and yang.
The odds are against him since 2018, so 5 drafts. 62 players have been drafted 50th or later. Only 8 of them have played more than 500 minutes as a rookie. 3 of them were last season, though, so maybe there was TJD in Golden State, Tumani Kamara with the Blazers, Jalen Wilson with the Nets. So maybe there is there's an opportunity there. There have been some seasons where there have been multiple rookies drafted in the bottom 10 of the second round that get it. None of them have the thumb on the scale of LeBron James as my dad, but I think, so balancing it out, I think we'll say Jake goes under, I go over.